We continue with conic sections in this tutorial and we're going to look at the hyperbola. Now the general form of the hyperbola is x squared divided by a squared minus y squared divided by b squared is equal to 1. So it should always be equal to 1. Now if you change, the sign here becomes a plus. That's no longer an hyperbola, it will be an ellipse. So it is either you have got a minus here, or this is going to be a plus and then you have got a minus here. So one of them should be negative, then that is an hyperbola. Right. Now, since we can either have a negative on the x or a negative on the y, so what happens if it is on the other? So if you have got x squared divided by a squared minus y squared divided by b squared is equal to 1. So you can see that the negative is on the y squared. This means that your graph is going to be more parallel to the y, more than like parallel, necessarily not parallel. In other words, it's going to go like this. Okay, it will not be able to touch the y there. Now, if it is negative x squared divided by a squared plus y squared divided by b squared is equal to 1, then this one you can see the negative is on the x, then it will be more like parallel to the x. So this is how the hyperbola is going to move. So I can also write this as y squared over b squared minus x squared over a squared is equal to 1. We can also write it in that form. Alright. So we need to understand how to get to sketch hyperbolas. And I'm going to start with a very simple example for us to be able to work out. Okay. So I'll just write the Cartesian plane in advance so that we can be able to use it. We have got the x values and the y values. Now let's say we'll be asked to sketch the hyperbola x squared divided by 4 minus y squared divided by 9 is equal to 1. Now remember we said it should be in the form a squared b squared in the denominator, meaning that I should write 4 as a square number. That means it's 2, right? So meaning that a is going to be equal to 2. And then if I write 9 as a square number, that is a 3, right? Meaning that b is going to be equal to a 3. Okay, so we're going to have these numbers which we are going to put. Now as you can see, the 9 was under y, meaning that this b is going to be a y value. It will be along the y. So we're going to put a 3 here. Now we're going to take it positive or negative. Positive or negative. So the positive 3, and then we're going to come to negative 3. And then this is a 2. It came from the x value which was below x, meaning that that is going to be in the x. So we're going to have a 2 and then a negative 2. Now to be able to sketch this graph, so basically what we're going to do is I'm just going to write to put a rectangle. Okay, so just put a rectangle through these points that we've already drawn. Okay, something like that, though it might not be a very nice triangle. And then I'm going to write two diagonals which are passing over this triangle. So one diagonal is going to come like this. It should pass through the center, the point 0, 0. And then another diagonal should go like this. Should also pass through the center, the point 0, 0. Okay, like that. And then now remember this one, you have got negative being what? Negative being on y. So meaning that this is going to be more parallel to the y, right? It will be parallel to the y. Now it needs to pass through this point and also through this point. Okay, that's how it's going to move. So you just proceed and get to join that. It will not touch that line, and then it will be coming like this, and then gets to go down like that, and then also with this line coming like that, and then it will get to 10 going like that. So this is the hyperbola. All right, so from here we can find the vertices. Now we can even see that the vertices here, the vertices are simply the x values where the graph is passing, right? X values where the graph is passing. Now for this one, we are going to have, we can see it is passing through -2 and +2. Those are x values. So say positive or -2. What is the y value? That is on the x-axis. The y value is 0. Okay. We also have, now we'll just get to put where the graph is passing, because these 2 points the graph is not passing there because the negative sign was on the y, right? So these would have been vertices if the negative was on here, because the graph would have moved like this. Okay. And then the other thing that we need to find is the foci. Now the foci is simply, that's the focal length. So now since this graph is in this way, so meaning that the focal length is also going to be in the x, meaning that the y value is going to be 0. And the focal length is given as positive or negative c, comma, it's going to be comma 0 because it's along the x. So it is a point somewhere here. Okay, that is c and this is negative c. That's the focal length, or the foci. Now how do you find c? For an hyperbola we said c squared is equal to a squared minus b. I mean for ellipse we said c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. But for an hyperbola, c squared is going to be a squared plus b squared. So a we've seen we found 2 squared, b we found 3 squared. So this is going to give us 2 squared is a 4, 3 squared is a 9. So this is going to give us 13. So that will be square root of 13. So that is the foci. Positive or negative square root of 13, comma 0. So this is it for this problem. And we can as well determine the equation of this diagonal and also this diagonal. Okay. So how do you find that? So all we do is determine the gradient of these lines. Now the gradient of the two lines are going to be more the same, except the difference is very small. So if we get to consider from here to there, and then this is a triangle which we've considered here. So to find the gradient of a triangle is simply given as change in y divided by change in x. Okay, so you are going to get y, we're moving from 0 up to 3 on top there, so that's a change in y. Change in x, we're moving from 0 up to a 2 here, right? So that is a change in x. So this is a gradient of the line. So since it's passing through the point 0, 0, and we know that the equation of a straight line is y is equal to mx plus c, meaning that the gradient of that line, I mean the equation of that line is just be y is equal to, we put a gradient which is 3 over 2x. Okay. Now c is a y-intercept and is passing through 0. So this is the equation itself. Alright. So that is how you're able to determine the equation. So that is going to be for this one. A line which goes like this, the gradient is positive. Now the gradient of this line is the same as the gradient of this line, except this line is going like this, so meaning that the gradient is going to be negative. Meaning that the equation of these two lines is going to be positive or negative. Y is equal to positive or negative 3 over 2x. This one is the one which is going to carry a positive because it has got a positive gradient. This one a negative because it has got a negative gradient. So this is how you're able to find the equation of those two diagonals. So let's get to consider another one. Let's say we've been given the equation y squared divided by, let's say, 4 minus x squared divided by 16 is equal to 1. So how are we able to sketch this graph? So well, let's get to equate this to, we get to square root this. So we're going to find that a is equal to 2. Square root this, we're going to find that b is equal to 4. And we know that these are the points where the graph, so we're going to put positive or negative. Those are going to be the four corners of the graph. Now, since this 4 has come from something that was under x, so that would be along the x. So let's say this is a positive 4 and this is a negative 4. And then the 2 has come from something that was under y, so we're going to have positive 2, the negative 2. So what we get to do is draw more like a triangle. Okay, up to that point, and then I'm going to draw two diagonals that is passing through here, and it should pass through the point 0, 0. That is not straight, so it gets to go like that, and then another diagonal also that is going to pass through the point 0, 0. Okay, so it's going to look something like that. Now for this one, we can see that the negative is on the what? On the x, meaning that the graph is going to be parallel to the x, right? So the graph is going to come and pass here. It's also going to pass here. So it is going to move like that, get to go up, and then it also get to move down like that, then to go that down like that. So this is the equation of this graph. So we can see that the vertices, since it is passing on the y values, the x values is 0, so it's 0 comma positive or negative 2. Those are the vertices. And then the foci, and so since it's passing through the y coordinates, foci, the x point will still be 0, but the y value, that is c, is given by square root of a squared plus a b squared. So the a is 2, b is 4. So 2 squared is a 4, 4 squared is a 16. So that is square root of 20. And we know that 20 can also be written as 4 multiplied by 5. The square root of 4 is 2, so this is 2 square root of 5. Meaning that the foci is going to be 0, positive or negative 2 square root of 5. So this is it for this one. And we can as well determine the equation of these diagonals. So how do you do that? Find the gradient. The gradient is given by the change in y. The y value from here up to there is a 2, divided by change in x from here up to here, that is a 4. So the gradient is 1 over 2. So the equation is going to be y is equal to positive or negative the gradient, which is 1 over 2, and then x. So that is the equation of the two diagonals. So what happens when we get to add or subtract something on the y which was on top? Let's say we have got x minus 2 squared, then minus, let's say we have got y plus 1 squared. We can say this is divided by 4, this is divided by 9, and this is equal to 1. How are we able to sketch this graph? So again, let's square root this. We are going to find that a is equal to 2. We square root 9, we're going to find that b is equal to 3. Now the only thing that has changed here is the center has changed. The center will no longer be at 0, 0, so we equate this to 0. That is going to give us a what? A positive 2 as a x value. So x is equal to 2. And then equate this to 0, we're going to find that y is equal to negative 1. So the center is at 2, negative 1 now. So we can now get to sketch. So the first thing that I'm going to put on my graph is the center, that is a 2 comma -1, which is at this point. Now these values that we're able to see, a is equal to 2, remember the 2 came from the value which was what, below x. So to the x value of the center we are going to add and subtract 2. So 2 plus 2 to give us a 4. So we are going to go straight with it like that. So a 4 is there. And then 2 minus 2 to give us a 0. So the graph is going to come here. And then we found the 3 from the value which was below y. So to the y value of the center we're going to add and subtract 3. So -1 plus the 3, that is going to give us a 2 to be somewhere here, and that is going to be going like that. So we're going to be here, and then -1 minus 3, that is going to be -4 somewhere here. And then I'm going to draw more a triangle joining these points. And then now let's also get to draw diagonals which are going to be able to pass through all these points that we're able to see. And it should always pass through the center. Okay, something like that. And then we can be able to draw now our graph. So we can see that the negative was on the value which was attached to the y, meaning that the graph is going to be like parallel to the y, right? So it's going to come and pass through this point, so it's going to go like this. And then also this side, the graph is going to pass like that. So that is how you're going to be able to sketch this graph. Now the vertices are these points here where the graph is passing. So you can see the y value is constant, like the y value is the same for these two vertices. What is just changing are the x values. So the y values, we have first the x value, we have got we get a center of the x value of the center, that is 2. We'll say plus or negative the number that we got when we square rooted 4, that is a 2. And then comma the center, the y value of the center, say -1. So these are the vertices. That's why we saw 2 plus 2 gave us this point here which is a 4, and then 2 minus 2 gave us this point here which is a 0. So those are the vertices. And then the foci is going to be the x value of the center, that is 2, the y value of the center, that is -1. Now since the y value of the center is not changing, so to the x value of the center, that's why we're going to say plus or minus c. Okay, you add or subtract c. Now how do you find c? C squared is given by a squared plus b squared, so that is 2 squared plus a 3 squared, and that is 4 plus 9, which is a 13. So the foci is going to be 2 plus or minus the square root of 13 comma -1. So this is it also for this problem. Well, that is how you get to work out these problems involving hyperbolas. Thank you so much for watching.